Well, the Sarah Boone trial is over, which is a surprise. I did not expect for the trial to go that fast, but after the trial started, we could kind of expect that it was going to go fast. Today, the prosecution and the defense sorted out the jury instruction. Wait, first, the prosecution finished up their rebuttal case. Then the prosecution and the defense sorted out the jury instructions with the judge. And then we started with closing arguments, and we have already gotten a verdict. So I think they got the verdict done in like 30 minutes, which is insane. And then there was also time for them to come back and get to court in order to read the verdict. So today we are going to be doing a summary of what happened in court day 6 of the Sarah Boone trial, the woman that is being accused of murdering her boyfriend by leaving him in a suitcase overnight. We're going to talk about that, how the case ended up, the closing arguments and what we thought of that, and then also the verdict and what you think of that. There are also some interviews of the attorneys already, so we're going to take a look at that as well. So if you're watching live, make sure y'all drop in the chat what you think about the case so far. Do you think that the jury got it right? Go ahead and let us know. If you're watching on the replay, go ahead and let us know what you think in the comment section. And also we'll have timestamps down below so that you can jump around if you think I am talking too much. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the summary of what happened today. And I don't know because I have my screen set up. I just like confuse myself so much because my screen is all messed up. Anyways, we got Bossy B bringing us in Bossy B. So the day started off with the prosecution finishing up their case, or no, actually they started with working on the jury instructions, and then they moved to finishing up the case when the jury got there, and then they go back to working on the jury instruction. So it was a little bit uneventful. The rest of the rebuttal case for the state, they literally just read text messages that Sarah was sending to George's mom's phone. But I would assume that a lot of the messages was George and Sarah going back and forth because George didn't have a phone. So he was texting his mom's phone. That's how I perceived it. Some of them might have been going to his mom. But the way I perceived it was that Sarah was texting George through his mom's phone. Like I said, she was just saying weird stuff like I'm better off without you, or that he's a bad person. All of these things just negative about George, as we have seen throughout the whole case, almost like she's trying to prove that he deserves what happened to him. I know her argument is that she's trying to prove that she's a better spouse, but it really just sounds like she's like, that's what you get. And funny enough, the defense argued that in their closing argument. Is like, oh, these text messages that she sent is the state trying to say she provoked his violence? Sarah, are you trying to say he provoked you killing him? Yeah, you guys are on the same page at that point. So then we jump into, and I'm just going to keep this all in the same section. They go through the jury instructions. One thing that was added into let's have Bossy B separate this out. Let's do that. All right. So with the jury instruction, this actually happened before the state put on the text messages. The defense wanted the second lesser included charge of culpable negligence. And if you remember, at the time that the state closed their case, the defense asked for the lesser charge of manslaughter. I did not know manslaughter was on the table. I didn't know that the lesser charges at all were on the table. The prosecution tried to fight against the culpable negligence charge, but the court ultimately granted it and allowed for what she's being charged, or what the jury can find her guilty for was either second-degree murder, negligent murder, or no, I guess not negligent murder, but I guess that's what it would be, or culpable negligence, meaning, or no, that's what it was. I just confused myself. So it was second-degree murder, negligence. Why can't I get this together? Second-degree murder, manslaughter, or culpable negligence. So the defense kind of already did it to themselves, saying that they wanted the manslaughter, and now they're adding in the culpable negligence, which is like an even lesser charge, in hopes that Sarah would get less time, because I believe with the second degree murder, she's facing up to life in prison. And just the way that she was reacting throughout the court, because the judge actually does the sentencing, this is not on the jury anymore, he will be able to either throw the book at her or not. But I'm also thinking, since it's her first felony, they're probably not going to throw the life sentence at her, especially because, yes, she used a dangerous weapon, but at the same time, she kind of didn't. It was a suitcase. No one really expects for suitcases to be that dangerous. So that was added into the jury instructions. And then they went back and forth about other things that I don't remember everything, because it was a lot and they were arguing about what should be included. And then they finally got the jury instructions down to the way that they wanted. We then move on to closing arguments after lunch, of course. So, all right, on to closing arguments. The prosecution started off the closing arguments, I think a little, I'm calling him little baby prosecutor, because I feel like he was second chair, right? He was not the one participating in the trial as much. Mr. J is who I would assume to be the senior attorney that was working on the case. So they started with I'm calling him a little baby attorney because I know I can't pronounce his name and I'm not going to embarrass myself here. He started off well. I honestly don't believe that his opening statement was that memorable, to tell you the truth. He definitely laid out the laws that they need to follow. He definitely laid out that, yes, she's claiming that she had battered spouse syndrome, but even if she did, she wasn't justified in this moment. He did a good job in indicating, or kind of he described the suitcase as a coffin. And I think that really stuck to the juries. It stuck to me of like, yeah, it's a suitcase. The prosecution called it a box at one point, but at the same time, it's a coffin because he did die in there, and they start calling it a makeshift coffin. And I think that was really effective to do. They ended their they ended their closing statement, their closing argument, asking the jury to find her guilty, and that there should be no reasonable doubt as to whether you can find her guilty. Now, the prosecution's open and closing, the first part of their closing statement is long, so we're not watching it tonight. This is going to be a pretty short live stream, honestly. But anyways, it was long, so if you want to watch it, just go ahead and check it out on one of the court channels that covered the full thing. Now, one thing to note during the prosecution's closing is that it appeared that it was someone in Georgia's family that got a little bit overwhelmed when they played the suitcase video and kind of made an emotional outburst, and they had to rush her out of the courtroom. I don't think it was like an extreme big deal. Like, yes, maybe she wasn't expecting for it to happen so soon, or she wasn't expecting for it to come out like that, or she thought she can handle it. But I think they did the right thing in just removing themselves from the room. I noticed his brother was there, so I'm assuming it was someone from his family, and they removed themselves pretty quickly. I don't think they really made too much of an uproar. It was one loud outburst and then removing themselves from the room. And well, then they turned off the mic. So I don't know if it was more. I really don't know if it was more, because they did turn off the mic actually. So I may or may not be lying. Okay. And so that's one important thing to note about the prosecution's closing. Now, let me get into the defense, because the defense plays too much. And maybe he's not playing. Maybe he's very, very serious. Okay. He asked for the court to declare a mistrial because the woman reacted in the gallery. And somehow that became the state's problem. The state should have known she was going to react like that. They should have told her this is what they were going to play. And if she couldn't handle it, she should have never been in here. Well, first of all, the state doesn't know how this lady is going to react. It's another argument of him expecting for the state to read other people's minds, to know what they're going to do. It's completely inappropriate. I don't know where he gets it from. Actually, I do know where he gets it from, and I am going to talk about it when we go ahead and play his closing argument, because I am going to play a little bit of his, because the beginning of it was funny to me. He was so pissed. He was so frustrated. And I think he was trying to invoke something out of the jury by displaying this overcompensation of being irritated. Or maybe he really is irritated. It was a long trial. Although it was just a week, it was a long trial. So maybe he is real life irritated. So let's go ahead. So anyways, he asked for a mistrial. The court said no. And then they warned the jury that if they are not able to, take it and really take these things in without making any type of emotional outbursts or outbursts in general, then they need to be removed from the courtroom. And I think at some point, somebody's phone was ringing and the court was not having it. I think it was during jury instructions, was not having it and kicked them out. So he's about done with this trial too, but I hope he's happy that he doesn't have to sit through this for the next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and jump into the defense's nonsense. All right. So now we're going to talk about the defense. Our lovely, lovely James Owens. He is our friend. He's not our friend. Okay. He started his closing off very unappealing to me. I don't know if that's what we want to call it, but I don't think it was very good. And I'll talk about the rest of his closing, but it was all over the place. It had no guidance. He talked about himself for the first 5 minutes. I was like, okay, so when are we going to get to your opinions, or not your opinions, what you want the jury to know about the case? So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about how his thing was all over the place. I think we are ready to go ahead and share the screen. So actually, no, we're not. Let me get my stuff together back in the back thing. Did I already do my little Bossy V thing? I can't remember. Stop screen. We're going to present a screen and then we're going to share a screen. And we want to do this one. Share screen. And then we're going to. All right. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to get my little life together and get my streaming correct. Uh-oh.
Thank you. Y'all may be seated. Members, jury, for one of the last times, if you could, please raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions.
And so this is the defense's closing argument that we're going to be listening to.
Closing argument, similar to the state's closing argument. These are not evidence. These are just arguments, and I ask you to pay attention to them. Thank you. Mr. Owens, you may proceed, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let me turn off the closed captioning, y'all. I don't know why that's going on. So,
good afternoon.
Can y'all hear it okay?
Y'all know me. I'm James Owens, along with Tony Henderson and the girls. We're all from Milton.
And pay attention to his reactions when they object.
Northwest Florida, close to Pensacola. And my buddy Kevin Beck, he's a longtime friend. He's from New Mexico. The defense team, is here, and we're here to represent Miss Area. And we feel confident that we're going to be able to show you why she's not guilty. Okay? I'm going to take my time. I've got some notes, not the most organized person in the world. I've got some exhibits that we're going to show you, and then we got a couple of videos at the end. Okay. And,
okay. Thank you.
Our best to help you make the right decision. Okay?
Can y'all hear it okay?
Yeah.
Let me know.
Milton's a small town.
Overruled.
See how small it is. 7 miles away is another small town called Pace. In between that is a Walmart. Very small town. We didn't know what to expect coming down here.
Okay, let me get our lives together because Kimmy's letting me know that the sound is really low. So let me try to pump it up a little bit. Let's do that. Let's play it. Is that better?
Judge, I'm allowed to.
I'll give you a little bit more for intro, then we need to get into it.
I'm going to get into it, but I wanted to say it's a small town, good people. We've been down here 3 weeks. We didn't know what to expect. We've been surprised. From objection.
Mr. Owens,
So mad. He's so mad. It's like there was no reason for you to look at him that aggressively, that quickly. And so the defense is starting off telling the people that he's not from around here. He's from a small town. And I think that supports why he has been so outraged throughout this process, because it sounds like they don't really have a lot. And I could be making this up, but it kind of seems like they don't really have a lot of cases maybe. And so maybe he's not too used to going to trial. So he's letting the jury know that they're from a small place. So basically, if I've been messing up through trial, that's why. I'm not used to this courtroom. I'm not used to all the rules, apparently. So the prosecution is objecting, going relevance. No one cares where you're from, Owens. But the court is allowing him to do it. So go ahead and continue to pay attention to how angry he gets. And I think he may be trying to relate to the jury, but the jury probably is like, what the hell is wrong with him?
It's just, since we've been here, we've been treated with respect and hospitality, and just like we've been at home. We appreciate that. Now, I'm going to do some reading, and then I'm going to do some talking. But ultimately, this is about justifiable use of force. That is a legal defense in Florida. We as citizens, the law is designed to protect us from defending ourselves, to protect us from potential attack. And you are the only ones, in this case, because Sarah Boone was arrested, that's going to be able to look at it critically and objectively. Objectively. I like the state attorney. Objection.
Oh.
Objectively.
Not
And
like
the
the
law
state
will
attorney.
give you all the power and authority
Throwing
to do that.
shade.
The state attorney can't make the decision. They can't make the decision. They can try to influence you. And we're going to talk about some of the things they did here in this trial and some of the things they said.
Yes.
The facial expressions kill me every time because, like, why are you so angry? You know they're going to object. And the reason why he's probably so angry is because he didn't really object during their closing arguments. We're going to watch a little bit more of what he has going on, and then we're going to go ahead and jump to my opinion of what happened through the closing. Again, y'all, this is just a quick live stream. So if y'all want to watch everything that was said during defense and the prosecution's closing, make sure you go ahead and check out one of the news channels that was covering the entire closing, because your girl got about an hour with y'all tonight, and then I gotta go eat dinner. So we are not watching the whole trial. If you came here for the whole trial, I'm sorry, we're not doing that today. But while you are here and while we're waiting for Mr. Owens to come back from being upset from all the objections against him, make sure y'all hit the like button. I'm not gonna set a like goal for the stream, but I am just gonna mention that a like will be appreciated. And again, welcome to any new subscribers, because we got quite a few new subscribers last night. So welcome to y'all, and shout out to y'all for joining the BriHive. Like I said, if you're watching on the live, go ahead and drop in the comments your thoughts on the case, because I am going to go through the comments at the end of the live stream. So if you want your opinions read, or if you got comments about my opinions, make sure you let me know. So here we go.
Thank you.
They're going to keep
Their
objecting.
side, their position, we've got our side. So we're going to talk about that. But and we're going to talk about justifiable use of deadly force and non-deadly force. But either way, however you rule, it still justifies her behavior, and the result is not. Now, I don't believe there's anybody.
Overruled. Yes.
I don't know why this made me laugh so much, and I'm happy like I was not listening to this in the car, because I would not have been able to see the reactions that he gave to the state. I think the state is doing a little bit the most, though, because every objection so far has been overruled. They do get some good sustained ones throughout the opening, but what I think is happening is it's throwing the defense off. It's making him a little bit confused. And they've done this earlier in the trial. I don't know if that's their purpose, but it's working that way.
I think you will find, from considering the evidence in this case, that there is no doubt that Sarah Boone is a victim.
That's what he's going with.
That Sarah Boone has been traumatized. That Sarah Boone is still traumatized. And the reason for the trauma is George Torres. The reason for the trauma is George Torres. From the positive things about the man that we've seen on video, to the positive things Sarah Boone has testified about, to the violent monster he becomes.
No.
And I mean monster.
That's good descriptive language.
And what happens the next day? Man, I don't remember. I was drunk.
And you want to talk? That was literally her testimony.
That's the gaslighting. That this young woman, vulnerable woman,
That's
with
literally
nobody,
her testimony. They both
just
were
starving
drunk all
for
the
love,
time.
starving for attention, and seeing the good
So
in the man.
desperate, right?
And it was good. But every day was on the balance. She measured every day, depending on how it started and then how it ended. And that's the way she had to live her life. day in and day out, day in and day out. Dr. Harper and Dr. Brandon talked about trauma. Dr. Harper spoke of the veterans.
And
that
this
she had
was the
treated for
leg
post-traumatic stress
stand
disorder.
on.
If you remember her testimony,
Stood on.
but she spoke about some of the veterans that had been in the war in Iraq, and people in war a lot of times get post-traumatic stress. It used to be called shell shock and other things. But people in wartime, or police officers will get post-traumatic stress.
It's
And a lot
get
of
to
them
the
come in,
point,
and
Owen.
I'm all right. I'm all right. And so that's what Dr. Harper was talking about, the veterans, that's what they'll do. But you got to spend time with them. You just can't be one session. And you've got to run post-traumatic stress testing, which tells whether they really have post-traumatic stress. And we all probably have experienced some trauma. All of us have lost some loved ones. And it's awful. You're in shock. You can't believe it. It's disbelief. You don't sleep for days. And eventually, you have to go back to work. You take a week off. Life has to go on.
But she didn't go back
Life has
to
to
work.
go on. You go back to work. Kids are in school. You get a little time, right? Time heals, right? These veterans that come back from a deployment, they get back. They get some semblance of normalcy. They may or may not get some treatment, but time helps.
And when are we going to talk
Time
about
heals.
Sarah?
Everybody, it helps. Just time. Overcoming a divorce, overcoming a death, whatever trauma. Sarah Boone had no break. No break. Learned helplessness.
And this is what he
Just
focuses
giving
on.
up. Just giving up. I can't get out of this situation. They broke up. She go about 2 days. Texting, calling. Just learned helplessness. And it's, in the manual. That spouse syndrome is not, but what did you hear Dr. Harper say? She suffers from post-traumatic stress. That is a mental disorder. You are actually undergoing the psychological effects of post-traumatic stress. You're not in your right mind. And it's repeating itself. It's repeating itself again and again, day in and day out. And when you look at this law, that's what you have to apply. Someone in Sarah Boone's shoes, when you're deciding whether her conduct was reasonable. Got a bunch of notes.
All right, y'all. That's all we're going to watch from him. So, like I said, the prosecution, the objections, they were probably doing the most. All of them got overruled and it threw the defense off. Don't know if that was their purpose in doing that, but it did throw him off. But it's not like it threw him off a lot, because if you watch his entire closing, like I said already, we're not going to cover the entire closing. If you want to watch it, go watch it. But I'm gonna warn you right now, you're going to be confused. There was no storyline in his closing argument. He would go from, she's abused, she's battered, she's so sad, and she didn't know what to do. And then he was abusive, and he's mean, and whatever. She put him in the suitcase. Okay, and now she's sad, and she's learned hopelessness. Oh my gosh, she's learned. It was just all over the place, and there was no buildup. There was no storyline. I understand like the points he was trying to pull out, but he didn't make it a smooth transition and just told the jury, you have to find that she was a battered spouse. You have to find that she was in reasonable fear or imminent fear because of what he has done in the past. Him putting his hand out, again, that overt act blows my mind for the self-defense of him putting his hand out. Either way it goes, he goes on, he rambles on. Nothing really comes out of it, in my opinion. One thing that I did notice about his closing argument is he brought in a lot of things that I did not think were into facts. The state did object to one of those instances where he made a statement regarding some evidence. He was like on his phone, like he was about to show something new on his phone to the jury, and the state made an objection about he's about to talk about facts, not in evidence. And I feel like a few sentences before that, he was talking about facts, not in evidence. He was also considering, he also presented the case assuming that the jury was going to find Sarah credible. You heard what she said. This is what she said. They don't have to believe that girl. She's been lying up until yesterday. Now all of a sudden she's telling the truth. She just told us for the last 4 years she lied about what happened. And now you're telling me that we need to believe that she's telling the truth. I don't think so. So in my opinion, I don't think that the defense's closing was effective. But at the same time, the prosecution's opening to their closing was effective, but not as effective as I thought it would be, not as strong as I thought it would be. But then we jump over to the prosecution's closing, the second part of the closing where Mr. J does it, and we can definitely see that he is the one that is more experienced. And sorry, Mr. Man, that I'm calling the baby lawyer because I don't know how to say your last name. If you are the one that's more experienced than him, I don't know. He seems like he's the one that's more experienced. So let's jump into that with Bossy B. Okay, the prosecution did a good job at whipping that suitcase back out, showing how small it is, calling it a coffin, explaining the law, explaining when self-defense applies. One thing that I noticed that neither side pointed out, though, is that she claimed she was so afraid of him, and she stuck to this on the stand, and she also stuck to this right after the incident happened. This part never changed, and I was very surprised that none of the lawyers brought it up because I had been thinking about it throughout the entire case. She told everyone she was so afraid of him, and the reason why she locked him in the suitcase and the reason why she beat him in the with the bat is because she did not want him to get out the suitcase. But then when she testified that she did not know that he was going to die and that it could kill him and that he would stay in the suitcase all night, she said she left it open enough so that he could get out. Okay. So you're so afraid of him that you want him to stay in the suitcase. But in your mind, what you want us to believe is that you left enough room for him to get out if he really wanted to. I don't think she did, but she's claiming she did so that he could get out. But she's also testifying that if he got out, he would beat me. So why did you feel comfortable enough to go upstairs in the same apartment where he is and fall asleep? If you were so scared that he was going to get out and do something to you, why did you go upstairs and go to sleep? Her attorney did a good job in saying, I don't know, she fell asleep or she passed out. We don't know. Prosecution came in and was like, she was drunk, right? She didn't even remember taking the picture. She didn't remember taking the video. She gave her, all the evidence over to the prosecution. And then not only that, she can't remember what happened right before the video that she recorded. She probably wouldn't even remember the recording if it wasn't recorded, right? The prosecution also pointed out, which was surprising to me, no one really said this, but the prosecution made the argument that we don't have to believe Sarah because George had bruises all over his body. The prosecution made Sarah explain how he was in the suitcase. He hit on the suitcase with the bat, showing that the sides of the suitcase was hard. And even if she was poking him, she would not have been able to make that kind of damage to him at that time because of the hard suitcase. So the prosecution was basically insinuating that Sarah was beating him with a bat outside of the suitcase, and maybe she put him in the suitcase later and maybe got too drunk and forgot about it and went upstairs and went to sleep. So the prosecution is painting the picture as this likely started upstairs. That's probably why the neighbors heard that loud sound, which again, she wants us to believe that she does not remember taking the picture of that suitcase and everything that happened in that 9 minutes before the suitcase. But she also wants us to believe that there was no loud boom. So you can't remember certain things, but you definitely remember that there was no loud boom. The loud boom was when you were getting dragged down the stairs. Come on, dude. Like you can't have it both ways. You can't say you don't remember this part, but for sure, no, there was no loud boom. Why would we trust you after that? So the prosecution did a good job of painting the picture. And I was not even expecting, because they didn't do this in their opening closing statement, right? They did this at the end of their closing statement, which gave us a whole new theory that kind of cast some doubt on Sarah Boone of, yeah, I actually don't believe her. Yeah, that doesn't make sense that he had all these prominent bruises outside if he was inside of the suitcase. How was she getting him on each side of his body when portions of his body was protected by that hard exterior of the suitcase? So there's that. He also pointed out how George would lie for her, how she would record him and he would change his story depending on what Sarah was telling him. I think that the prosecution did a good job and said the only thing that you can do is find her guilty of second-degree murder. That's it. Her story doesn't make any sense. Even if she had the diagnosis, something would have had to happen at that moment for it to happen. And what she's telling us is that she put him in the suitcase. He started saying stuff off video and then she started beating him and now she feels threatened. So she had a duty to do something to help him. Pointed out that she didn't call the police. If you thought you were in such fear, why didn't you call the police? If you thought you were in such fear, why didn't you say, hey, I'm going to let you out, but stay there for 3 seconds before you stand up and run out of the door. After the prosecution finished, I don't think the hide and seek story is true. The prosecution said, Mr. J said, you don't have to believe the story of hide and seek. And after his closing, I don't believe the story of hide and seek. I really wasn't thinking. I was wondering why he was bringing up, oh, how are you laying in the suitcase and everything. And I was like, how did he get? He's like, how did he get so much blood on his face and everything? And I heard the testimony, but I didn't really think about it. So they did a good job saving Mr. J for the end. I think other baby prosecutor did a good job laying out all the facts that we had already covered in the case. And defense attorney, I don't think he did a good job at all. I don't think he did a good job at all. It was too random. There was no story, right? The prosecution had their story by just going through the elements of the crime that these people are going to go through. But the defense can't do that because all he wants you to know is she had a learned hopelessness. She put herself in it. The prosecution also pointed out that they would call the police and Sarah would use the police as a weapon against him. One other thing that I noted in the videos, when she was calling the police, half the time he was sleeping every time the police came to the house. So you're calling him and claiming you guys had an incident, but by the time the police gets there, he's sleeping? Come on, dude. I don't know. I don't believe her story at all. And I think the jury got it right. So y'all let me know what y'all think about the prosecution's closing, all of it, and then also the defenses. Like I said, I already gave y'all my opinion. I don't think the defense did a good job. I think that the first lawyer on the prosecution did an okay job. And then Mr. J brought it home for me. He pointed out a lot of things to kind of highlight. I really wish they would have pointed out that he would be asleep most of the time, that the police would get there. And again, her falling asleep, claiming that she was so afraid of him. Because if I'm afraid of somebody, I'm not going to sleep in the same house. She could have went to Brian Boone's house. She could have called an Uber. She could have called the police and said, I left him over there in the suitcase. Can y'all go let him out? But she knew that the police knew they had a history. We saw how excited she was when the police was there. She's calling them saying, oh, he beat me up, but hey, you guys should come over for drinks. That's not a person. She's not acting as a person that gets beat up, right? And then coaching him on how to get rid of her charge from choking him. Anyways, that's what I think about the prosecution. I think that they did a good job. They definitely made me cast doubt in all of what Sarah said. Sarah might as well have not even stood up at that point, because I think her testimony actually made it so that the prosecution could bring more evidence into the case. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Let's go ahead and jump over to the verdict watch, because that's what we came for, right? Sarah Boone accused of unaliving her man. Let's have Bozzy B bring us in. And again, if y'all haven't hit the like button, please do. It does help out the channel, helps us get more friends and all of the above. And we're talking about Sarah Boone, the woman who has been accused of murdering her boyfriend by leaving him in a suitcase, charged with second-degree murder as the highest included offense. But there also included the lesser charges of manslaughter, meaning it was negligent. She didn't mean to do it, right? Which is what she's arguing. The prosecution, I forgot to say, also did a good job of arguing that. We're not saying she did it on purpose. We're saying she did it with a depraved mind. And telling this man to F you and that's my name, don't wear it out, that's a textbook definition of a depraved mind. And I agree with him. I definitely agree with him on that. Let's see where we are at. What am I trying to watch here? We got the verdict and we want this one. Okay, he is already all blown up. Y'all let me know if it's loud enough. I think it is.
State, are we ready to bring in our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, are we ready to bring in our jury?
Yes, Judge.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our jury. Everyone will remain seated.
Sorry, y'all. I didn't have it queued up properly. And also, they're all sitting down. If you notice throughout the trial, they would stand up when the jury came in. They're all sitting down this time because Sarah is all cuffed up. And her attorney asked for her not to be cuffed up because she doesn't want the jury to see her as guilty. But at the same time, girl, they already found you guilty. So that's not really going to change their mind. They really already made their decision. But he did make the argument, and then the prosecution was nice enough and say, I request that we all stay sitting so that it doesn't seem weird that she's the only one sitting or that her and one of the attorneys are the only one sitting. So they all just stayed sitting, and hopefully the jury didn't notice it. But like I said, they had already found her guilty, so I don't know if it really would have made a difference or not. They probably would have been like, that's exactly where you belong.
State, do you recognize our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, do you recognize our jury? Members of the jury, you may be seated. Thank you. Members of our jury, good evening. I understand that you've come to a verdict in this case.
Yes.
If you could please hand the verdict form to the deputy, please. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, if you could please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the Ninth Judicial Circuit in Orange County, Florida, case number 2020 CF2603, the state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. Verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree as charged in the information. So
She didn't even react.
dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 25th day of October 2024. The form has been signed by the full person.
Madam Clerk, please poll our jury.
Juror seat number 1, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror seat number 2, is this your true and correct verdict? Yes, it is. Juror seat number 3, is this your true and
Yes, it
correct
is.
verdict? Juror seat number 4, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror seat number 5, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror seat number 6, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Members of our jury, again, I want to thank you for your time, your sacrifice, and your attention in this matter. I know that we spent almost 2 weeks together, and it was not taken lightly, and I really appreciate the time and the effort and the sacrifice that you put into this case. I want to advise you now of your final instruction. Members, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and your consideration in this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room.
Okay, they're just going to tell them that they don't have to speak up. If people ask them questions, they don't have to do an interview outside of the courtroom or anything like that. If you notice throughout the case, they haven't really been showing us their faces, so we don't really know who they are other than the people that was in the courtroom and could actually see who they are. But they do not have to talk to any media, and he explains that they have that right because people will probably be in their face trying to figure out what happened in the deliberation room that only took y'all 30 minutes. They didn't have no doubt 30 minutes. And they're like, you're guilty. I can understand if you've been a battered spouse, which one thing I didn't like about the either the prosecution or the defense, they kept saying that George did these things to her, like the stabbing in the leg. We don't have no proof of that other than Sarah's testimony. And she's a liar, liar, pants on fire. So I think that the prosecution should have worded it as things that he may have done to her. Again, we don't know because we can't ask George what happened. How did she get stabbed in the leg? For all we know, she went crazy and stabbed herself in the leg. Talk about love me. If you don't love me, I'm going to stab myself in the leg. People do that kind of crazy stuff. So I don't think that it would be too far-fetched for her to have hurt herself in order to get his attention. So I didn't like that the prosecution was just like, oh yeah, he did these things. He did bad things to her. Yes, they probably had a violent relationship, but I would not have attributed actual incidences that were not on video to him, honestly. So they go ahead and explain to the jury that they don't have to talk to anybody. And then they go ahead and set the sentencing hearing. The prosecution says that they're going to have a couple of witness statements and victim impact statements, 2 to 3, they said, and it should take about 15 minutes. And then the defense is going to probably have Dr. Harper testify. I really didn't like her like that, but she's going to have Dr. Harper testify. And he said that should take about 30 to 45 minutes to talk about the battered spouse syndrome. Again, the jury didn't even believe it. So why do you think the judge is going to believe it? And the judge has had to sit through Sarah's nonsense for the last 5 years. So I hope he's not like really nice to her in it, but also he does state this is your first felony. So I do have a feeling that she's not going to get life. She'll probably get like 25 years or something like that. But maybe not the life. Sarah girl, You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that the jury got it right? Do y'all think that the jury considered all the evidence? Do y'all think the jury came back too fast? Let me know what y'all think in the chat. And if you're watching on the replay, drop it down in the comments and let me know what you think. All right. Let me also switch over because there was some interviews. Now, this I have not previewed. I don't know what happened. So let's have Bossy B bring us in. Okay, so there were some interviews outside of the courtroom. I don't know exactly what happened in them because I have not watched them yet. I just kind of peeped them and we're going to watch them. Uh-oh. Okay. We're going to watch them together and see what Sarah's attorney had to say and what the prosecution had to say as well after the trial. I just clicked on the video of the prosecution. My guy looks so disheveled. He's probably stressed out. I can't even imagine going through this trial with Sarah Boone. Oh, I can't even imagine going through it with Sarah Boone, but he did. Let me go ahead and put us onto the screen. We are now using this guy over here, and we're gonna add him to the stage. And here we go. This is the interviews after the trial.
Well, we're disappointed. Sarah's disappointed, but we feel like she's got a couple of pretty good appellate issues, and just, Sarah's plight's not over. So I'm sure, as y'all know, she's a fighter. I'm sure she'll be filing an appeal, but we're going to present some mitigating evidence. I think Dr. Harper will be testifying at the sentencing that I think is set early December 2nd, 1:30.
He was just there.
So we'll be back up here for the sentencing. And hopefully Dr. Harper can go in a little more depth about some of the other issues, mental health issues that Sarah suffers from. And hopefully the court will consider that, and then we'll go from there.
What do you think the appropriate sentence should be? What do you think the appropriate sentence should be?
Well, of course, I'm biased, so I don't want to say, because right now, the judge has to make the call. So I don't want to try to impose on his responsibility as the judge to ultimately decide what's a fair and appropriate sentence. I don't feel right to say anything.
Did you talk to Sarah afterward, and what'd she say?
Just shocked. She's shocked. She felt like she had a defense, as you know. And so
she was shocked, and I like how he looked at her. It was like, she had her defense, as you know, at her defense. Dude, you just did the defense. And I also forgot to mention that Sarah did say she was satisfied, definitely satisfied with the job that her attorney did. So hopefully she does not file an appeal based on ineffective assistance of counsel. She's the one that decided to hire him at the last minute, all of the above. But he's saying she had a defense. He ain't got nothing to do with this, but he did fight hard for her. And that's all I can, he props to him for that.
Just, in shock. She said she would call me tomorrow morning, so we'll talk some more after she's had some time to think about it. I've had some time to think about it, but, we're obviously really disappointed. We did the best that we could,
not happy.
In the time that we had to prepare. Sarah really liked the team, and we all got along with the 3 lawyers and the other 2 girls that have helped the other 4 lawyers working on the case. And Sarah was, as you know, really happy with us. And, we had some disagreements about how the case should proceed, and Sarah, is opinionated, and some of the things we considered, some not, but ultimately I think she was happy with the defense. It just didn't go our way. As you know, these trials, a murder charge is a difficult case to beat, and there was some strong evidence that
and you still
the state used, obviously, and we just, for whatever reason, the jury didn't consider some of the things that we felt like should have potentially been defenses. The justifiable use of force under the battered spouse syndrome, but for whatever reason, we respect the jury's decision. They've been here for 2 weeks. It took us 4 days to pick the jury, and so I'm sure they did the very best that they could under the circumstances.
Was it her decision to not take the plea deal? You think she regrets it?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I don't think she would have taken anything. I think she wanted, some clients, they want their day in court, and I don't believe she would have taken anything. I felt like the state should probably negotiate a little bit more, but they were firm on where they were, and Sarah was firm on where she was. I just think, she was convinced in her mind that that she felt like, she felt like she didn't intend.
He said he thinks that the state should have negotiated more. Is he insane? He has got to be in. There's no way he's sane. You're blaming the state for her not taking the deal. 15 years is what they offered her. Now she's facing life. That's her problem. That's not the state's problem. I think they gave her a very generous offer.
And to kill George. And that this was just circumstance because they were both intoxicated. Things happened that, it was just really unintentional act. So I think she felt bad about any kind of a murder conviction or any kind of murder, that she was somehow criminally responsible for George's death. And I think that's where her.
Did y'all notice she didn't cry not one time on the stand? People that felt bad about it, even people that don't feel bad about it, even pretend to cry. She didn't even pretend to cry, saying she felt bad about it. I don't think so. I really don't.
Mindset was. And, I think she would have gone to trial even without lawyers. She was ready to go to trial.
She was ready.
Pro se. I think she was happy we came in. We worked as hard as we could. We had about 45 days to get ready, and we did all we could. So I think she feels good about our efforts. We put everything out on the table, just like any other contest. You do the very best you can, and then you have to accept, the decision by the jury. We respect the jury and appreciate their time and attention on the case.
Will you be representing her on her appeal?
No. No, I'll be representing her at her sentencing, but not the appeal. I think she would qualify since she's indigent for court-appointed appellate counsel. And those guys, that's all they do is appellate work. And those are probably the best lawyers to handle something like that. But we're, as I said, really disappointed, Sarah.
The no was almost as abrupt as the judge being like, denied. Your motion's denied and your other motion's denied. Are you going to represent her on appeal? No. But I'll be there at the sentence. No, we didn't ask you about the sentencing here. We asked you about the appeal. No. Can't do it. I cannot do it.
Is kind of in shock. But we respect the jury's decision. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. All right. I'm so mad. He thought he was going to win.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Over where? All right, let me just put my stuff right here.
More interviews.
Excuse me, everybody. We have jurors coming out. We just have you guys move over to the side here. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm gonna let this kind of play out. I don't know where the next portion is. Okay, there we go. All right. No. Okay, maybe right here is good. I guess that's good. Yeah, he's not representing her. That's good. That's good. We're gonna watch some more of it because the prosecutors also get interviewed. So let's see what they gotta say too.
That's happened February 23rd, 2020, where she zipped her boyfriend up in a suitcase and what she claimed to be a game of hide and seek.
Is that one of the jurors?
2 videos were introduced from her where he was begging for his life and a horrific turn of events. And she didn't try to let him out. She didn't do anything to help him.
Who is that? Does anyone know who that is?
And so this is a very horrific homicide. Nobody really should have to.
Oh, from the prosecutor's office, maybe.
Struggle and fight for their lives.
Their boss.
Die alone, begging for their last breath inside of a suitcase like this. And the jury did amazing work. I'm thankful for our chief homicide, Will J, and our assistant state attorney, Dave Cacciatore, did amazing work. Some of you caught me in the courtyard. I was like, I get briefings about it every single day.
Okay, so that was right. So the Mr. J is the chief at the prosecutor's office, and then the other guy is an assistant attorney, whatever. So I was right. I was not being mean to baby lawyer. That's what I'm referring to him to, because I know I can't say his last name. But yeah, Mr. J is what I would call the boss. Okay, and then Tanya D is saying that's the attorney general. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, let's get back into what they're saying. Basically saying that his team did a really good job in the case.
What they've been doing, but we're excited that they were able to bring this home with a victory because served the conviction of Sarah Boone for this very horrific homicide that occurred. And so, if you have any questions, I'm going to turn it over to
So
this.
sorry. As his argument, clearly the jury did not buy it. The argument was self-defense and battery.
Correct. And so we're going to turn over to Will and Dave to ask all
I gotta go. Y'all asking too many questions.
They did all the great work, so they deserve all good credit.
He's like, I gotta go. I got to
Yeah,
go.
so like the president, I know the jury obviously did not buy that.
Correct.
Well, how does that make you feel? Did you get a chance to speak to the family?
Yes, we're very happy to gain some closure for the Torres family and some justice for George.
Strong closing arguments from the both of you today. What do you think, like she said, this case means for the family and getting justice for George Torres?
I think after 4.5 years and the numerous delays, I think they were finally just happy to see this case go to trial. And
Well, he's letting him talk.
What do you think the appropriate sentence should be?
We'll reserve comment to the sentencing hearing.
Do you expect the verdict to come back that quickly? It was an hour and 20-something minutes, very fast.
Should never have expectations.
what do you think about the case law with respect to Martinez? I know there was a strongly worded letter you all signaled you will be sending. Is that right for judicial review higher up?
Can't really talk about future legal arguments.
How was it in the courtroom between you and James Jones?
I'm not even. Mr. J did wonderfully in court. I didn't even know what to say beyond that. My guy is not having it. He is not having any of these interview questions. I don't know how long the baby attorney, who I'm referring to as baby attorney, has been in the office, but you could tell he was not about to answer the questions how Mr. J is answering the questions. And he just looks shocked every time Mr. J says, dang, bro, why are you so aggressive? We're going to reserve that for the sentencing hearing. Yep. Mm-hmm. He could have easily said, well, she's facing this amount of time. It'll be up to the judge. He could have said that. He's like, yeah, nah, shut up. Could have just let the attorney general continue to talk at that point. And I also think Mr. J's tie is very interesting for the occasion.
Moments of tension and then also moments of levity. Was this different than a typical battle that you go into?
I wouldn't say it was different than
He seems so shy.
a different relationship than with most defense attorneys.
What would you say to the jurors who were here for about 2 weeks on this case? It was a long jury selection, and then, of course, a lot of evidence to look at and all of that. What would you want to say then?
Thank them for their service.
And then now
Did
his
you know that
demeanor
it was
changed.
George's mother who broke down in court today, and that was the reason for the bit of an outburst?
I was made midway afterwards. It happens in these cases.
Do you have a chance to talk to her and say something?
I've not yet.
How about you, David?
I spoke to her along with the rest of the Torres family after the verdict. Just listen to them.
A strong rebuttal yesterday from you guys.
They're not
What do
saying
you think
nothing.
that evidence showed the jurors and meant for this case?
I can really talk about the evidence.
Final question for me is, are you stunned that she did not take that plea deal?
It's not for us to say.
Yeah, he for sure was not going to answer the question how
Thank you.
Keith answered it.
They've got me here for a long time, a couple weeks, but thank you for coming. And thank you for covering the case.
Thank you.
Yeah. So they were not very personable on the interview part of things. We got a little bit more information from the defense attorney. I think they could have been a little nicer, but also I guess it's been a very long day. What time was it there? Like almost 10 o'clock by the time they were doing these interviews. So for that is all the interview that we're going to cover. Let me know what y'all think in the chat. I'm about to get into reading the chat to see what everybody thinks so far, and then go from there. So let's have Bossy B bring us in. All right, so Sarah Boone's trial is over. It went by very quickly. We thought it was going to be a 3-week-long trial. That's what the prosecution anticipated. They got rid of some of the witnesses randomly, quickly. A lot of people didn't testify who were subject to testimony or that was subject to testify. And I don't really know if I have an opinion about Sarah's case and her attorneys not putting on a rebuttal to the rebuttal of the prosecution, because I don't think it would have helped. So I can't say that they messed up in not doing a serve rebuttal, but I can't say that it didn't help their case. I think the jury probably already made up their mind. Like, yes, you guys had a tumultuous relationship, but it doesn't give you the right to unalive somebody. It doesn't give you the right to kill someone. So I don't think that them responding and trying to prove their point even more, we got it. She has learned helplessness. She was in a toxic relationship. I don't know. I think that the prosecution did a good job of saying that maybe George Torres was the one that was suffering from the battered spouse, or maybe they both were. We don't know. They were in a tumultuous relationship. So I don't know if it would have helped her in order for them to do the serve rebuttal. And I'm almost like, were they just trying to rush the case because they wanted it to be over? I know the jury for sure didn't want to come back on Monday. So they probably was like, we gonna stay as late as we can in order to get this thing done. And luckily they got it done. I think that they got the right answer. Y'all let me know in the chat whether you think they got the right answer. And if you're watching on the replay, let me know if you think they got it right in the comment section. Wow, we reached 40 likes. So shout out to everyone that jumped in and stopped by and hit the like button. Definitely appreciate it. But if you haven't hit it yet, please do. Please help us out. We are at 40 likes with only 21 people watching live, but everyone that's coming in and out is hitting the like button. So I definitely appreciate you. Okay, let's see what the chat has to say. Did I already bossy B? I can't remember. So we're going to do it again. I think I did. Okay, we got Kayla Samneth saying, excited to hear your coverage of this. Oh, thank you. I hope it was everything that you expected. This is just a quick live stream. So yeah, I just finished watching the court hearing and I hope my comments were interesting enough. Kayla says he is so frustrated and I'm here for it. Yeah, the defense attorney was not having the objections by the state. I don't know if they were trying to be annoying or if they thought they were being, if their objections were serious, but it did seem a little bit annoying. I think I would probably get annoyed too because all of them got overruled. It would be different if they were sustaining all of those initial ones, but a lot of them were getting overruled. We got Paul Klink saying, I hope I said that right, saying Sarah was nonchalant, unruffled, and unfazed during the verdict, and the perp walk, unshackling, fingerprinting, no emotion, no effect, completely unfeeling. I didn't watch all of that, so I don't have an opinion on everything after the verdict, but I would say, like, even her on the stand, she didn't even fake a tear. Normally, when these people, they're in a relationship and they kill someone that they're in a relationship with, they at least shed one little tear. My girl had nothing for him, and she didn't have nothing for him during the verdict. She really thought that she was going to be able to win, and I really do think that she should have taken the plea deal. I know the prosecutor can't comment on it, but I do think that she should have taken it. I think they gave her a really good plea deal, and they're probably hoping that she's going to get more than the 15 years. I think she's going to get more than the 15 years because the judge knows about the 15-year offer, and that was put on the record so that when she appeals and he gives her a higher sentence, she already knew what it was, right? AK says Brian Lee finally won't have to pay her now. He will still have to pay her until he gets an order to not pay her. My understanding, I'm also not a Florida attorney, so don't quote me on that. Sophie Meyer says the defense closing statement was a hot pile of garbage. It's like he was not there when they were doing something, and I think when they were doing the jury instructions, he was not there. It was I had his name, Henderson. Was that his last name? The black attorney? I was calling him the black attorney. Not appropriate and not politically correct, but y'all know who I was talking about. I believe his name is Henderson. He was there doing the jury instruction thing, which he was kind of funny on the jury instruction because he would argue something and then the court will say, well, that's not it. And he'll go, I'll agree. He knew he was making dumb arguments on behalf of Sarah, in my opinion. But yeah, Owens was not there during the last part of jury instructions, which made me believe that he was over there writing his closing statement. But apparently him having that time to write his closing statement wasn't that much. It wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful. Barb Pace Lamb says tearing up the birth certificate. Yeah, she would withhold all of those documents. I don't remember if I really heard about tearing it all the way up, but I could just be, I'll watch it on fast forward while I'm doing other things. So could have just missed it. Carrie Jean says, boss, you are so right. Thank you. I don't know exactly what part you were talking about, but I'm happy that you agree with me. Sophie Meyer says she still thinks she can get out of this. That's my theory. Oh yeah, she's gonna appeal this for sure. And the attorney saying he thinks that she has good basis for appeal. What are going to be the bases? The court made the record squeaky clean. So I would love to know what her basis of this appeal is going to be. And if y'all got any thoughts, let me know. Where did they mess up? They did move for mistrial. They did move to impeach, or not impeach, but to strike a witness. Those weren't strong arguments, though. They weren't strong arguments. Kayla, the librarian, says, I think they definitely got it right. I agree. I think the jury absolutely got it right. We got Mama Mia saying, OMG, you are right. I'm not convinced at all that he did any of that. She called the 911 so many times, and then when she get hurt, she's hurt. She protects him. I don't think so. Yeah, I think that she was calling the 911 as a weapon against him because she knew he would be arrested. And so that time where she was arrested, she was very shocked. She was like, what the heck? I finally fight back, and then I call the police, and now you guys don't help me. But I think that she was probably beating him before that. And like I said, every time the police would come in, and it could be because he was drunk and then he passed out after you beat her up, which is what she testified to, or it could be that, you know, they got in a fight and he's not going to call the police against her because maybe he has, and this is all speculation, maybe he already has a bad relationship with police, you know, being a minority, being a man, they're going to arrest me anyway. So why would I call and, tell on her, and they're going to arrest me, right? And he could have just said, fine, I'm just going to go to sleep. We got in a fight. We're not having fun. She told me to get out the room. And so he's sleeping on the couch. A lot of the time he was sleeping on the couch whenever the police got there. So, I don't know. I kind of don't believe he was the one instigating it. And I'm a little bit convinced that maybe she stabbed herself in the leg, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on it. Don't quote me on it. Charlene T says, plus she called the police every other time. She sure did. Mama Mia said it's sad that George was blamed and couldn't defend himself because he is dead. Exactly. He can't even testify that, no, I was not the one starting this. Yes, I did that, but it's because she did that. And I think the prosecution did a good job in pointing out, they showed the part of the video where he swung at her, but they didn't show the first 6 minutes where she just berated him constantly for 6 minutes. Like she's trying to claim battered spouse, that's battered spouse. You're emotionally manipulating him and making his self-esteem go low, which she testified, I had low self-esteem. She kept throwing stuff in. Like, they didn't even ask you that. And you're throwing that in, but you want the sympathy, but he can't have the sympathy, and he's not even here to defend himself. Sophie Meyer says, for whatever reason, really, dude? Yeah, he kept saying that. The defense attorney in his interview kept saying, for whatever reason, they didn't believe our defense because it's a lie. She lied for the last 4 years, and now all of a sudden we want to believe that she's telling the truth. The prosecution did a good job in saying that he's gonna end me. That was new. We haven't heard that. She hasn't said it to her therapist. That was the first time we heard it was here on the stand. She has been changing her story and trying to make it fit so that she can fit the self-defense, and it still didn't fit. It still didn't work for her. Maybe you shouldn't have put him in a suitcase, girl. Okay. Kayla, the librarian, says, that is truly wild. It's all wild. Pretend judge, I love the name, says, sound like a personal problem to me, talking about the defense and the case going bad. Sophie Meyer says, dude is dapper AF. Were you talking about the attorney general? Mama Mia says, I agree 100% with the verdict. I do. If they would have done anything else, I'll be honest with y'all, I could see them going for the manslaughter, because I think that the state did leave a lot of loose ends during the testimony and evidence portion of the case. I think where they succeeded at was on their rebuttal and playing those videos and just kind of seeing George, seeing his personality go down in every single video that they showed, and also showing that when Sarah was calling the police, she did not seem to be in fear. Her voice was calm. Like I said, it sounded like she was calling to use the police as a weapon. It doesn't really seem like she was in fear, and she was like happy half the time that they were there. She definitely was not acting like a person that had been abused on majority of the videos. There were a few, right? But majority of them, she was drunk, she was happy, and it didn't really seem to be a problem. It kind of seemed to be, he's not paying attention to me, so I'm going to call the police on him. That's my opinion. Aaron E says, I was about to fall asleep before I saw there was a verdict coming in. Adrenaline got up, and now I'm up for the long haul. Got my mega pint ready. Please don't have a mega pint. Welcome, Em. Glad you were able to catch the live stream. Mama Mia says, and I'm not sure if it was a mutual bad relationship. All of the videos that George is on, is so submissive. Yeah. And they tried to say he didn't do anything on the videos because he knew like that she had proof. But it's like, but she did it on the video. She was cussing him out. She remained herself. You want us to believe that when the video camera wasn't going, she wasn't talking like that? Yeah. And then the prosecution did a good job at pointing that out. They said, she said that he didn't do anything when he was on video, but we saw him swing, right? This is probably how their relationship really is. She antagonizes him. He reacts, and maybe she hits him with a bat. He reacts. And one thing I wanted to point out a couple of days ago that I didn't, they talked about that baseball bat so much. The adults use that baseball bat so much throughout the case. George hitting the TV. We got Sarah hitting George with it. We got there was some other incident with the baseball bat. They mentioned that baseball bat so much. I'm like, is it the child's baseball bat or is it y'all baseball bat? I feel like it's their baseball bat at this point. Aaron E, thank you for the $5 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. I need to get a little sound for super chats. Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. Saying the defense did the best they could given what they had to work with, which wasn't much. Glad Sarah didn't take the deal because she deserved more time. Oh, that's a good point. I agree with you. I do think that she deserved more time. But what I will say about the them not having much to work with, yes, I think that they did do the best job that they could. I don't know why they would come and practice in a court that they're not used to practicing in. A lot of attorneys know, at least I know, that you don't go dibbling and dabbling in different courts because different courts have different rules. And although you're in the same state, there's different processes that these courts follow. Overall, they have to follow kind of like the same format, but you don't know the judge. You don't know how they usually rule. You don't know how annoyed they get with like your reactions. All of those things play a part in, making a good case. With those prosecutors, they probably practice in front of that judge all the time, and they know how his temperament, they know how he usually rules. That's why if you notice when defense was making all of these arguments, all of the dumb arguments, I would have to say, the state wasn't really saying anything. They weren't saying anything because they probably already knew how the judge was going to rule on those issues. And they did actually get ruled against. If you guys heard during the interview talking about the Martinez case, they got ruled against that because Sarah was not actually charged with aggravated assault, which was needed in order for the instruction they were asking for. And the state, they argued a little bit, but they didn't like really go hard. The defense was still going hard about it. And when the court made their decision about not including it, the state was just like, okay, because they probably already know that judge's temperament. So don't go around practicing in other counties. Other thing I would have to say about the defense, the fact that you responded to that handwritten advertisement talking about this is your moment to shine and get on TV and whatever the heck it said, you was coming for the clout, and the clout ended up beating your butt because that guy looked so tired. He looked so tired at his end of his interview. Are you going to represent her on the appeal? No, absolutely not. She's opinionated. Yeah, I don't think he was, too much of a fan of representing her. And that's what her other attorney said previously, is that she demands all of your time. And she probably demanded all of his time. And he looks tired, like I said. Okay, let's see here. We got Lumpy Louise saying she did not get her Pop-Tarts. I'm sure she didn't. Bruna says on the clothes from the state, they showed the photo from the birth certificate tear up. I wasn't really watching on the state. I was, I think, creating my thumbnail to tell you the truth. Lumpy Louise says, if anyone suffered from battered spouse syndrome, it was George. I was saddened to watch him cower when she was berating him. And that's what she was doing. And I think the prosecution did a good job at pointing out that she treated him like a child. They were not equals. They were not equals at all. Aaron E says the defense went hard to get the acquittal and mistrial because they knew Sarah's phone evidence was coming in and then it would be a wrap. Yeah, that phone evidence, she might have been able to get away with it if it was not for those videos, because you can tell who was the aggressor in just the tone. And even her saying, oh, well, when I turned off the video, then that's when his tone changed. Girl, you was the one with the tone from the beginning. And not only that, you started this. We can hear it on the video, and you want us to believe that as soon as the video turned off, then he started cussing you out and saying he was going to kill you? No, you about to kill him. He's trying to get out the suitcase. Maybe on a regular basis, maybe that could happen, but in that situation, I don't think so. Bruna says, my heart broke when George's mother started to cry and have to leave the court. And for the defense to use that and ask for a mistrial was crazy. Yeah, he's an animated guy. That's all I have to say about the defense attorney. Lumpy Louise says to Bruna, right? Just because the murderers are desensitized to murder does not mean the family victim is. Exactly. There was no way for the prosecutor to predict that was going to happen. Charlene T says Sarah Boone's son likely will not see her again until he is well-established man. If at all, George was his friend and part of his life. Yeah, see, I didn't know much about the relationship between the kid and George, which I'm sure that's detrimental in, like, even if he wasn't friends with him, right? Your mom killed someone when she was supposed to be picking you up from school the next day. Pretend judge says they was used to practicing criminal law. Everyone should go Google Tony Henderson, Milton, Florida. In 1993, he impregnated a 14-year-old girl he was representing. Pops right up in Google. I haven't looked that up, but for whatever reason, it doesn't surprise me. How old was he? Oh, he was representing, so he was old enough. He was an adult if he was representing her. What? Wow. I didn't know that. I can't really comment on that because I haven't done my own research on it, but I would just say it wouldn't surprise me. Mama Mia says the sad part of all the videos for me was when he was sleeping next to her bedroom just to be close to her. So sad. Yeah. I think she beat him down. And she was trying with Brian Boone, but Brian Boone kicked my girl to the curb and said, here's $1,000 a month. Go. Pretend judge says allegedly, but Henderson and Owens were thick as thieves. Even then, Henderson wasn't disbarred because statute of limitations ran out. Wow. That's interesting. Like you said, allegedly. Aaron E., thank you again for the $5 super chat. Thank you. Definitely appreciate it. Saying, I think Owens and Co. love that. Owens and Co. company were hoping to convince Sarah to take the plea. A lot of people are saying that, but they ended up having to rep her for real. Yeah. Thinking that they were going to be the heroes to save the day and really tell her, like, hey, you don't have a case. Like he said, Sarah got a lot of opinions. Sarah wasn't letting them opinions go, and he said it himself. She was going to trial whether she was represented or not. And the reason on why he said he took it was because he doesn't want the person to be taken advantage of by the criminal justice system. What he didn't know is that he was about to be taken advantage of, right? Thank you again for the super chat. Lenorsky says, I can't imagine how George's family is feeling tonight. It must be such mixed emotion. Very sad. And they still have to wait till the sentencing. So it's still going to be quite a while for them. And again, it still doesn't even bring back their loved one. So it's good that they got a verdict, but I don't know if it's really going to make them happy, because what will make them happy is probably having George back in their lives, right? Lumpy Louise says, LOL, attorneys are hot. Not laughing about the 14-year-old thing though. Yeah, that's insane if it's true. But yeah, those attorneys are not happy. They thought they were going to come in and like kill this thing. Okay. And really their case they were obliterated. Like, his closing didn't even make me halfway believe the testimony. I think they made up their mind that Sarah was a liar. And then again, we can't even talk to George. And even if George did these things, they were playing and laughing, according to her. Like, and I don't know if she thought that would make it better, because I honestly don't think they were playing and laughing at this point. Pretend judge says to Lenorsky, for real, I don't know how much it will do, but I'm gonna cover the Torres family in my prayers tonight. Yes, do that. I think it would be helpful. Mama Mia said, oh, thank you for the $5 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. You didn't make a comment, so I don't have a comment to make back. So, but thank you, definitely appreciate it. Lumpy Louise says attorneys in general, not those. Oh yeah, the attorneys. Oh, like hot, like attractive? Is that what you were referring to? I was like, what? Aaron E says Owen's closing was complete word salad. I don't even think he knew what he was doing. He was going back and forth and back and forth. I'm very confused. Lumpy Louise says my divorce attorney was out. Okay, you were trying to say that they're attractive, but definitely shouldn't be dealing with children, right? Okay, y'all. That is all I got for being live in the Hive. Crystal Harris, welcome in. I know it's not our normal streaming day, but we were just covering some cases, or sorry, not some cases. We were covering the end of the Sarah Boone trial. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled new content, guys. I am coming out with some new type content, so you might catch me on the live stream multiple times per week because like I mentioned in yesterday's stream, I'm not good at editing. I've learned that this week. I tried to do pre-records for y'all for Sarah Boone's case, and I'm just not very, very good at it. Oh snap, what did I do? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I distracted myself. I'm not very good at the editing, so the new content that I'm bringing on, I might just live stream it because I find that I don't mess up as much when I'm just live streaming and feeling like I'm having a regular conversation than when I'm trying to like do pre-records and be like very, very informational and everything like that. So new content coming out. Don't know what cases we're going to be covering moving forward. I know there's some new stuff coming out about Diddy. Y'all definitely let me know what you are interested in covering moving forward. I got a couple more comments and then your girl gotta go because your girl gotta go have dinner. Okay, Bruno Marches says Owens didn't help the case go into a sexist tangent in his clothes. Completely unnecessary and for sure throw off most of the feminine jury. Yeah, he didn't do a good job. And just to be like, oh, well, he did all of these things to her in the past. We don't even know if he did those things to her in the past. That's the crazy part. Like, you want us to take Sarah's word, and she's been lying for the last 5 years. Lenorsky says to pretend judge. Definitely, I would pray for them. I just realized Brian Boone must be tapped into. Get rid of Sarah Boone for sure. He's like, can you change your last name? Like, for real, though? He can protect his son and stop paying alimony now. Yeah. And so, yeah, definitely y'all keep them in your prayers and hopefully their sentencing goes the way that we all expect and want it to go. Mama Mia says, haha, forgot to comment on my super chat. This is the best commentary live I've been in all night. I'm sorry. It was a little bit hard for me to read there. I don't know why. On night, you are so real. Thanks. Thank you very much. Definitely appreciate you joining the live, and I'm glad you like the content. I just come on live stream and play around. Aaron E says, even though the facts don't allow it, Owens was trying to convince the jury to decide based on imaginary doubt or speculation. Yes. And I think the prosecution did a good job in pointing out this is not about imaginary doubt. He said the imaginary beliefs in Sarah's head. I was like, dead. Lumpy Louise says, agreed. There was no evidence presented that he was the aggressor. Not at all. Not at all. I agree. But anyways, y'all, thank you for joining the live stream. This one was a short one for tonight. I will see y'all all on the next live stream, and I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Bye.